Today we're talking about reported problems with the much anticipated AI device from Jony Ive and OpenAI, as well as doing a little update on Sora 2. Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief Headlines Edition, all the daily AI news you need in around 5 minutes. We kick off today with reports that OpenAI and Jony Ive may have hit some technical snags with their AI device. So when the partnership was formed back in May, Sam Altman said that there was already a functional prototype and that they were building toward a release next year. The Financial Times now reports, though, that engineers working on the project have been unable to solve a series of critical issues that could delay the release. This project has been a leaky sieve relative to OpenAI standards, and the reporting confirmed that the device is a, quote, palm-sized device without a screen that can take audio and visual cues from the physical environment and respond to users' requests. Now, multiple of FT's sources discuss the development struggles, which include core software, privacy, personality, and compute. So pretty much everything. Unlike Siri and Alexa, the OpenAI device is taking an always-on approach that does away with the concept of wake words, basically that "Hey Siri," which gets it to pay attention. Basically, they're attempting to build ambient AI, which is something that is coming up a lot more on this show recently. One issue is that the device is apparently a little too eager, with sources commenting that the team is having issues with it chiming in too often or not knowing when to end a conversation. One person briefed on the project said, "The concept is that you should have a friend who's a computer who isn't your weird AI girlfriend, like Siri but better. But finding this line between accessible and intrusive is apparently a little bit more difficult than they thought." Another person said, "Model personality is a hard thing to balance. It can't be too sycophantic, not too direct, helpful, but doesn't keep talking in a feedback loop." Now, folks close to OpenAI insisted that these are normal problems, what they would have expected with this, and part and parcel of this sort of design process, especially given that this is a new category product. Some pointed out that hardware has a higher burden, and so of course they're going to take more time to figure it out. Writes Prins, "Hardware is just like open source models, can't be rolled back once it's been released into the wild. I think they'll iterate on this one for a while. Not too surprising that the release date seems to be slipping." Others point out that for this group in particular, the stakes are high. Writes Jean Meyer, "Either Jony Ive designs an AI device that people use, or this entire category of device dies." Between this and ChatGPT Pulse, it is very clear that OpenAI has a very particular and apparently deeply held belief about the future being always-on ambient AI. I continue to be a skeptic in that paradigm in a pretty fundamental way, but maybe that is just me becoming an AI boomer. Next up, a little update on Sora. First of all, the application has surged all the way up to #1 in the App Store. It's apparently getting around 200,000 downloads per day. Olivia Moore from A16Z, though, points out that there is a very specific arc of a new social app, and that Sora is absolutely following it. Step 1 is the flood of users because everyone wants in. This is especially the case when the app is restricted. Step 2 is the inflated posting activity of the first few days. Energy is high, everyone has ideas. Basically, people dump all the things that are interesting that they can think of to do and see what sticks. Step 3 is that the platform starts to settle a little. Users figure out if there's a compelling status game to hook them. Step 4, if the answer is yes, the platform keeps growing, and if no, many users churn and platform remains the domain of enthusiasts. Olivia believes that we are in the middle of step 3, where users are figuring out if there is a compelling status game to hook them, and I think that that's just a dead-on analysis of exactly where we are right now when it comes to actual usage. Now, the caveat with that is that I still think that the usage base is pretty highly restricted to tech insiders right now who wouldn't necessarily be my first choice for creative content generators. And so I'm willing to let this stage 3 settle a little bit longer than I might otherwise. There are also a ton of updates coming out of OpenAI around Sora itself. Bill Peebles, the head of Sora, on Sunday announced that there were some new restrictions on Cameo, which is of course the big feature that they're betting on, where you can give people permission to use your likeness in videos. Bill writes, starting today, you can now give instructions to Sora that restrict the type of generations that others can make with your Cameo. For example, you can say things like, "Don't put me in videos that involve political commentary," or "Don't let me say this word." This seems like a super sensible update that makes that feature much more highly usable, so I think that's a great one. They also note that they're working on changes with the watermark, and they're trying to figure out the balance of moderation versus over-moderation. Bill writes, "We're tweaking our stack to reduce false negatives and catch loopholes. We know over-moderation is super frustrating, and we're working on that too, but we think it's important to be conservative here while the world is still adjusting to this new technology." Importantly, they also fixed the issue where deleting Sora would also require you to delete your ChatGPT account. That one was a little insane, and so I'm glad they've figured that one out. But they're also changing a little bit how they deal with copyright. Now, you might remember that the whole approach seemed to be asking rights holders to opt out rather than assuming that they're opt out by default. Sam Altman, in a blog post, announced that now they will, quote, give rights holders more granular control over generation of characters, similar to the opt-in model for likeness, but with additional controls. Now, Sam does also say, we're hearing from a lot of rights holders who are very excited for this new kind of interactive fan fiction and think this new kind of engagement will accrue a lot of value to them, but want the ability to specify how their characters can be used, including not at all. Look, I think it's obvious that companies are going to want this sort of control, but the smart ones are absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt going to figure out ways to let people do stuff in Sora. Jacob Eating jokingly or not so jokingly wrote, Sora is reminding us once again that the best thing about the internet was always copyright infringement. And Kevin Verse, I think, makes the important point, all the copyrighted content on Sora was the thing that made it cool. It wasn't a bug, it was a feature. Tighter guardrails should not be how to iterate, just license it all, and it will be a permanent differentiator to other platforms. Now, of course, I think OpenAI would say that the cameo and integrate yourself into video is hopefully the thing that'll make it cool, but it's pretty undeniable that things like putting Pikachu in every movie have been a huge driver of early consumption on the platform. In that same blog post, Sam Altman said, second, we're going to have to somehow make money for video generation. People are generating much more than we expected per user, and a lot of videos are being generated for very small audiences. We're going to try sharing some of this revenue with rights holders who want their characters generated by users. The exact model will take some trial and error to figure out, but we plan to start very soon. Our hope is that the new kind of engagement is even more valuable than the revenue share, but of course we want both to be valuable. Look, man, just say that you're doing ads. I don't know why we have this whole cloak and dagger thing. Like, oh my goodness, we just somehow realized that this thing we built an entire application around is going to be popular. Treat people like adults. Obviously, you have huge costs with this. You have to pay for it somehow. Some people are going to be upset that you put ads into these experiences. They're going to have all sorts of specific grievances if they do. They're going to have different ways that they want you to implement it. There's going to be privacy considerations that relate to their other existing chats. But none of those things change the fact that it is inevitable that ads are going to come to these platforms. Just take the time to articulate your vision for that and don't treat us like idiots. Whoever from OpenAI Communications is listening to this, aw shucks, we can't believe people are using it, and I guess we're going to have to do ads now, is the opposite of the strategy. Rant over, still very much looking forward to see what OpenAI drops today. One of the things that I think might come is better platform controls, or even maybe a discovery that the Sora 2 we've been using inside Sora is not the pro model, but is maybe a more fast generation model. In any case, I got to move on to one last story today before we get to the main episode. AI chip-making startup Cerebras has withdrawn their IPO registration. Their prospectus was filed more than a year ago. In it, they disclosed heavy reliance on a single customer, UAE investment fund G42, which is also an investor in the company. This led some to question whether the company had viable outside revenues. An SEC filing on Friday was brief, merely saying that Cerebras did not intend to IPO at this time. Now, some jumped on this as indication that we had gone past peak froth in the public markets when it came to the AI theme. Others took it as a chance to be specifically critical of Cerebras' business. But Cerebras, for their part, very much tried to frame it as their old S1 just having become stale and, as they put it, no longer reflecting the current state of our business. Over the weekend, they tweeted, "Our business and financial position have evolved significantly for the better since our initial filing in 2024. They also pointed out that they had just raised a $1.1 billion round at a valuation of $8.1 billion, which doubles the valuation from their last round back in 2021. Obviously, for our parts, the thing that I'm most interested in is whether the market interprets this as being about more than just Cerebras, or whether it really is just about the company themselves. Something to keep an eye on, but for now, that is going to do it for today's headlines. Next up, the main episode.